All right, let's get started. And welcome. Welcome for those joining the webinar here. It's on a topic called employee advocacy, what we call in a subject the missing ingredient for an impressive social media strategy. What will be today, Thursday the 28th, and my name is Robert Smits, and I'm representing here the company Apostle, and I will show a little bit more on Apostle in a few slides. What I'm doing here is I'm doing business development, and business development means we are looking into opportunities for the different areas, especially in the Nordic here, but it could be anywhere around the world where we see opportunities, as this tool is worldwide possible. My role is to figure out and to find out and to support where we can to find the right customers going forward. Good. I will show you the big screen, and I come back once in a while. And if you have any questions, you can always put it in the chat box, which is on your side, and then I can get back to you on the tool on any questions. Good. Let's get started. What we're looking into here is the table of content. First of all, what are we going to talk about? It is about who is Apostle, why employee advocacy is something we want to look into, then the platform, and a program in 3 steps, which we will show you. This is the way we're going to start, and by that, we would like you to give you the full understanding about employee advocacy is important. We want to show you how you can encourage your employees, and of course, how it can contribute you to get either new leads, sales, or even applicants if you want to have new employees in your company. So that's what we're going to do and going to talk about. Let's start with the first step, which is who is Apostle. As mentioned, Apostle is a Dutch company who has been started in 2011, and the startup was created by a person called Koen Jordans, and he is still owning and running the business here together with some good colleagues. And what we do is a social shift methodology where we are saying, hey, we are doing things in a better way. We can do things in a smarter way, and that's why we want to do it from a way we call it bottom up. And that will we show in a short while. Apostle is doing, let's say, 4 different topics as what we're focusing on. It's social recruitment to make sure that we can find the right way and have the employer brand at the top. Find the right persons. It is about social sales, where we say, hey, we like to go and do social selling. Make sure you have the right and meaningful leads. Third of all, we have social marketing, making sure that you're promoting the products good via social media. And then there's also what we call social binding, meaning that is how can you find ways to correlate and to have relationships all together, both internally and externally, as we call. These are, let's say, the 4 main areas what we're working on. And this is, of course, going from HRM to sales to marketing and to, let's call it, normal communication, which gives, of course, a good possibility to have a wide range of companies. To show you a bit the companies who is currently being supported by Apostle, you can know there's some bike names you for sure know: Specialized, Giant, Shimano, Cannondale, etc. Big one we have TomTom, which is more the GPS, maybe the name Canon. We have the UMC, which is the University of Medical Center in Utrecht, in the middle of Holland. So big names, fortunately, together with a lot of local and regional names, which we are supporting. This goes both in Holland, which is, of course, the main market where it all started. However, there are already many markets internationally which we also support, but we'll get a little bit more on that one back later. Okay? Right. Let's go to the next step, and the main reason why we are here. It is talking about why employee advocacy. We know there are different ways how you can use your social media and get attention. The most known, I would say, will be the owned media, because that's how the corporate uses their accounts. It's a top-down approach where they say this is what is being done, and it is just to reach call it the existing connection, we call it just a few of them. Then you have the paid media. Paid media means you have to, as mentioned, you have to use some money, paid ads, and then you can go specifically in a corner. You say, I would like to have that kind of audience or that kind of public to have my message to be spread around. That is what is done, and it also, as we call it, recognized as advertising. What we want to focus on today is the earned media and a bit the comparison between, let's say, owned and so on, to make sure that we are giving you the right and good understanding what we see is the future in employee advocacy. Why? Earned media gives the possibilities to have personal accounts showing you the message. It will is free. It's more interesting also what we see from the public, and it's also an efficient reach, which is there for sure. And I will tell you some differences. What we have found out in the past, call it 10 years, what has changed is very clear, is that previously, if you would have had 1,000 posts via social media, they all went through because the reach was there. It was one-to-one. It was easy. But the smart companies, you know them, the Facebooks, etc., we talk about, all the social media, they are smart enough to say, we want to make more money. So what happens during the past decade is that they went down and down and down with the reach, which means that you can try to do have a lot of followers, but however, those are not getting all the information which is required. What does it implicate? It means that most of the people, they will follow and they say, okay, it's the company, and so they already know you. But what we want to go for, to have a specific group, and that specific group has a reach which is much higher. And we'll show you a comparison here on the following slide. Let me go through it. So this is actually the red part, is what I showed, is that we say, hey, if you want to have this 1,000 persons to reach, what do you need? Then you need, with the organic reach, which I just showed you, I will just go back for a moment. Then you need to have a 2, as we call it, only 2 to 7 reach. So what we said, in principle, you have to then to have 50,000 followers to make only 1,000 reach. It's not bad, but still, it's a lot of work to be done and a lot of people you have to get there. What we say is, if you go to to the earned way and you go to the more personal way, we know that persons have, as we call it, call it 400 peers or / ambassadors, which are they have followers on. So they're being followed. And that means that reach is between 25 and 50. So we just said, okay, if you have 400, and that means times 10 is 4,000. So even with only a 25% reach, you already have 1,000, the same as you have to have with 50,000 followers. So that's why we say, to reach our audience more efficiently, you have to do it in a personal way. Okay. Then we say, why to do it? Because there must be something that is triggering us. And yes, that is correct. What is triggering us is the following. We need to figure out, okay, how do I get and keep control of what is posted? Because if it's company, that's difficult. Also, how do I get the authentic content? Because everything is about being authentic, being there and being visible in what you do and what you say. How do I keep an eye on who's in, to make sure that you have full control of what's going in and out? So also in a personal way, you need to understand it. And in the last but not least, how do I make sure that everyone will share? So you need to make a content which gives more added value, which gives you more information and more the trigger to do something. Well, let's go in detail on that one. We have a platform, and this platform is actually a quite simple but a very interesting platform, because what is happening is the following. There are, let's say, you have a message, and we have just 4 people, just as a random, we put it in, and they have different ways how they want to share their messages. And then they say, okay, we're going to go and do something about it. What do? We say, we want to have a bottom-up approach. We want them to support and say, hey, I have been here, and I've been in a nice with a customer, and I want to show it. Or I have a new position, and I want to show better what is the company's background, what is happening in the company. Or I just want to increase my sales, and by that I want to show more about the persons and the personal way, the touch, how to do things. So the people, they can put in the photos, videos, and the text, and they all send it to one person, which we call the social master. Okay, this is the bottom-up approach, what it's about. Then the social master, he says, okay, I get all the information. It is something I will say, okay, need to make it ready. I need to make something about it to be presented to the ambassadors. And the ambassadors are the ones which is in a group you find out. And likewise, we do with customers. It's like, for example, Shimano, and they have the whole distribution network. And then they say, okay, 200 employees, they get all the messages. So they gather it and then they send it out. This is the way it goes. So ambassadors can share their own social media, and we have, of course, a broad range, as mentioned before, 25 to 50% reach. So think about it, it goes very fast. Then go into a little bit into depth. How do we do that? The people, they need to be connected. There's an app which is used both, of course, on Apple and on Android, which you can put in. In that app, you can put your either photo, text, video, what you want. You upload it, and by doing that, you send it out. So this is what we just showed also on 2 slides back. If that has happened and the social master has it, then we go to the next step. In the next step, it says, okay, fine. Now I have it. I have the input. I got it from one of either employees, one of the network, one of the relations. And by this, there's a personal story, a real story of real people, which is being reached, is coming in, and they want to have a kind of a content strategy. How do we do that? Social master is looking if it's okay. Does he need to make a short and a small adaptations? He will find out. Or maybe there's no text, only a photo or video. He will add it. Having done that, then he says, hey, I want to schedule it, a date and a time. And then say, which group do we think is most interesting in getting it? For example, in an organization, you want to have it down to whatever, it's a technical team who needs a new person. They say, okay, for this technical group, I send it out, that they in their own group, which normally, let's say, they also have a lot of technical people in their own friends group, that they get that message on their screen. So what is happening? So they do the suggested post to the people. The people have a possibility to say, hey, I like it, or I customize the message, and those 2 decisions made. Then they say, yes, go, and it will be sent out on their timeline, either the LinkedIn or the Facebook or Instagram. So you just put it in. A good thing on top of it is that you have a possibility not only to do it, but also you can measure everything. All the things which are happening are being measured. It means so you have data, you have all the movements, and you also have a Power BI dashboard that you can, by any detail, know for sure you have all the information. So that is a really good thing. It is an add-on which I see is being used by the big companies, the multinationals, but also in this tool, it is possible. Good. So we go from social media to social thinking. Then I just show you a few customer quotes, and the first one, it's like a entrepreneur guru in Holland. He has really touch-based a lot of things, and he is really pushing things to the limit. But that's why he said you need to have a methodology to make sure that the social media can be used in a strategic way, but of course also on the floor practically. And that is what is being done. These kind of things, it's just something you can read also afterwards when you get the presentation. This is really where we say this is the value and the added value we are focusing on. Good. Then go to the point where we say we have a program, because a good thing is that you have this, but the most of the points what we are seeing is that we need for sure that there is a kind of a plan around it, a structure. How do we make sure that this can happen? And the thing, what needs to happen is a plan, and then you do a pilot, and then you do scaling up. And that process is very important, because if you start wrong and you don't have the right scope and the right plan, forget it, because then it's going to be wrong. So we are really focusing on this part, making sure that the value getting out of this program will be superb. All right, 3 steps. Let me show you in 3 slides what we mean. 3 steps. First step, phase 1, plan. Whenever you start, it's always the trigger, and the most important thing is to define this content strategy. You need to be sure that you have an understanding of the objectives, who is the audience, the target audience, and what are the content pillars. It needs to be that you think about this personal part, that you see, okay, how can we use this part, that we are making sure that the organization and everybody is understanding it internally, but of course, mainly your customers, your target group is getting it added value. Doing that, you define your organization, who is, for example, the ones who will be the ambassadors, who is the social master, and how do we work in the governance to make sure that is also totally carved in stone. That is the part we're starting in. And then we say, let's do some workshops with both marketing, HR at a higher level, an MT level, and a management level to make sure that it is covered in all levels. So yes, we are going to do it. Yes, there's a big buy-in from all the different levels in the hierarchy. This is the plan. So making sure we are all looking in the same direction. Right. Let's go to phase 2. If we have done that, and that's the part, the biggest part is of course to create it. Then you say, let's get our hands dirty and let's get started. So you make a setup. You start making things, making a, let's call it a new step. You start to implement. We call it the social shift, and we can do it in around 6 months. It all depends, of course, on the big group, the audience we're talking about. It is about, of course, the content you would like to share, etc. But if we start up with the setup, then we say, okay, let's go for the license. Let's start with the kickoff to make sure that that audience is done. And then we say, it's not only the kickoff, it's mainly also the e-learning. You need continuously to be sure that we are getting better and better and better. And by doing that, you're getting into what we call it the editorial meeting. So you continuously learn the learners, and by that, making sure that you actually get more people behind you and more people are following. And in the end, of course, when we say this in this pilot area, you do the reporting to make sure you understand what is going on. And by doing that, you have a full understanding of, hey, this is either a good step or we need to adapt our part, so and so and so on. But again, this is how it works and how we see most of the benefits. Right. Then the last part of this 3 steps is the phase 3 scale up. What we do mean is that it could be you're starting up in your own area, which could be Denmark, it could be in Holland, it could be whatever, in USA, it could be anywhere. And then we say just what we already have, and this is what we already have available as we speak today on this app. You can have it in different languages like English, Dutch, German, French, and Portuguese. This is already there. And on top of that one, of course, we also have documentation, which is even in Italian, Norwegian, Swedish. So we have different setups which we use. We do that together with our big customers together now. We see that they are growing. They're growing in different areas. So that's why we do it. So it's in Europe, it's in US, etc. By this, we see we have a product, as you can understand, which can be scaled up in your own home country, but also around. It just depends what you want and how your company looks like. Good. Then let's go to the last slide of this webinar. So employee advocacy, what we do want to get out of it is the following. We want to make sure that you understand the advantages. So what we do is we use the personal accounts of the people who are defined as the ambassadors of your company, making sure they spread the message around. It's, of course, as we see it, more interested from the public, as the reach is much higher than going via either the paid or the owned, or let's say the top down. We do the bottom up. It is a very straightforward and simple implementation program, which contains the 3 steps as just shown. And you have the possibility to continuously follow up and measure what is going on by Power BI reporting with the whole dashboard. So that's what is all there. What we want to do for you is to say, okay, for those who wants to learn a bit more or would like really to get their hands dirty, as I mentioned before, we have a free offer to say those who are in, they can get a free trial of the platform. How can they do that? They just have to write to the mail below or call, whatever you prefer. And by that, you will have a possibility to taste what we see in our examples, what can be authentic, what can be different. And by that, you can make a much better reach and a much better output of it. This is the webinar as we speak today, as for today. And I would like to thank you for joining. I'd also thank you for your time on this late time of the day, wherever you are, of course. And I wish you a very nice evening or day, and please get back to me in case you have any questions. We'll be there for you, and say good night and goodbye. All the best. Bye bye.